Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at some extreme spice in the Master League Premier Cup featuring a perfect IV Shadow Arcanine. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, so many thanks for the battle submission. Arcanine is a pure Fire-type Pokemon with the moveset of Fire Fang, Psychic Fangs, and Wild Charge. This trainer pairs it up with a Togekiss and a Swampert, and is able to have some incredibly fun games. So without further ado, let's up into the matches and check out Shadow Arcanine in action in the Master League Premier Cup. Hopping into the first match, picking up a terrible lead, Togekiss into Excadrill, throws one charm, safe switches into Swampert, and is able to bait out Gyarados. This matchup is exactly why having Sludge Wave is nice. Sludge Wave allows Swampert to hit for neutral and actually grab a shield. That is huge. Swampert is not going to be shielding a thing here. Swampert was able to bait out the Gyarados, which is what the Arcanine needed in the back. Opponent goes for the crunch, not able to get the debuff. Swampert able to reach one final Sludge Wave. That's going to deal quite a lot of damage to the Gyarados. Gyarados able to farm down, but since that second Sludge Wave landed, this is now a pretty safe farm down for the Togekiss, and Togekiss is not going to be shielding a thing here, wanting to save both shields for the incredibly glassy Shadow Arcanine in the back. Aqua Tail gets it low, looking to immediately switch into that Shadow Arcanine. Opponent brings in their final Pokemon, it's a Roserade, and they are so weak to Fire Fang in the back. Arcanine goes for the Psychic Fangs, loses CMP. Drill Run grabs a shield. Arcanine fires off the Psychic Fangs. This is not going to be doing a ton of damage here. They let it through. Exca is able to reach a final Drill Run. That's unfortunate. Arcanine will have to commit the final shield. Back in comes Roserade. It's Poison Jab. They're going to be firing off a move, but if this is just a Weather Ball, it's not going to be enough to KO. It is the Weather Ball, and Arcanine is going to fire off the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs is going to grab the final shield. In comes Togekiss. Togekiss gets to the Ancient Power. Ancient Power will safely take out the Roserade, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Togekiss into Gyarados. Definitely where you want to see Gyarados on the team. Gyarados is staying in, they're running Waterfall, and they save switch into their own Charmer of Primarina. Primarina will be met with Swampert. These charms are definitely chunking Swampert. Swampert builds up past the Sludge Wave, going for the Hydro Cannon bait. Hydro Cannon grabs the shield from Primarina, going for the Sludge Wave, but Primarina is able to fire off a move first. Moonblast does get shielded by Swampert. Swampert is going to be firing off the Sludge Wave here, hoping that it lands. Sludge Wave does get shielded by Primarina. Primarina is able to charm down as Swampert falls just short of the move. The bad news is that he's lost Switch, but the good news is that Shadow Arcanine does have access to Wild Charge, and that Wild Charge will easily one-shot a Gyarados. It looks like Arcanine is going for the resisted Fire Fang farm down here. Primarina fires off the Moonblast. In comes Gyarados, and Gyarados is going to be absolutely vaporized by Wild Charge from Arcanine. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping to the next match, leading Togekiss into another Exca. You hate to see it. Immediate save switch into Swampert, and like last time, the Swampert save switch is able to bait out the Gyarados, which is quite nice. Swampert is going to fire off the Sludge Wave. Sludge Wave is able to get shield advantage, which is incredibly nice, and hopefully, if the Gyarados throws once and tries to farm down, Swampert can get to another Sludge Wave. Aqua Tail lands, but this Gyarados does not want to take the damage. They're going to fire off their second move, so he's just going to let the Swampert go. Their Gyarados does leave extremely healthy, but thankfully, the Dragon Breaths don't do a lot against Togekiss, seeing that they are double resisted. Firing off the Aqua Tail, Togekiss able to tank it. Togekiss going for the farm down, but unfortunately not quite able to get there before Gyarados reaches another Aqua Tail. That does get the Togekiss low. Togekiss is able to charm down and leaves with a move loaded. They bring in their own Togekiss, firing off the Ancient Power. This is going to hurt. It lands, in comes Arcanine, and Arcanine is set up to absolutely go on a rampage. Arcanine going straight for the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs gets the shield from the Excadrill. Oh my goodness, and this game is so over. Drill Run gets the shield, Arcanine farms down, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Togekiss into Shadow Snorlax. Snorlax is definitely a bit tricky for this team, just due to its massive bulk and its ability to output a lot of pressure with body slams as well. Togekiss is staying in here, first body slam comes through, and that's going to do a lot of damage. Togekiss continues to farm up, tried to make it to the flamethrower, but will have to commit a shield to do so. Snorlax continuing to farm up, a save switch into Swampert. Opponent went for the catch onto Gyarados, but he's able to hold on to his energy and fire off the Sludge Wave. This Sludge Wave is going to hurt, and it's able to land onto the Gyarados. Gyarados continuing to farm up, they're going to fire off a move. Swampert is going to let this go, and Swampert should be able to reach another Sludge Wave, but choosing to go for the Hydro Cannon bait. This is a risk. Hydro Cannon gets the shield. Swampert able to get to another Hydro Cannon, and the risk pays off. That is going to be getting that Gyarados quite low. In comes Togekiss. Togekiss is going to commit the shield, needing to get the Gyarados out of here. In the back, they have their own Togekiss, firing off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power is able to land, but the downside here is that Arcanine does not have shields, and Arcanine is very glassy. This Ancient Power is going to be doing a ton of damage to the Arcanine. Ancient Power KOs the Arcanine. Togekiss able to charm down, but Snorlax gets the farm down, and that is a good game. Dream Lead in the next match, Togekiss into Haxorus. Opponent save switches into Metagross, which will be met with the Shadow Arcanine. These Fire Fangs are absolutely shredding through the Metagross. Earthquake would easily KO, so Arcanine is going to commit the shield, fully Fire Fang down, and leave with a lot of energy to potentially threaten the Haxorus if that's what they decide to bring in. Opponent is going to wait out their timer. In comes Haxorus, and oh my goodness, Arcanine is absolutely loaded. Arcanine fires off the Psychic Fangs, gets the debuff, firing off Psychic Fangs number 2, and this is just going to continue to add up more and more and more. Haxorus is forced to throw. They're going to have to take out the Arcanine. In comes Togekiss. In the back, they have Magnezone, and Magnezone is met with Swampert. Magnezone in absolute pain right now as they are getting shredded by the mud shots. Hydro Cannon gets a shield. They continue to farm up. It's a CMP tie, and Swampert is going to let this go. It's a wild charge. Swampert able to hang on and fire off a Hydro Cannon. This will be grabbing shield number 2. Magnezone trying its best to play out of this Swampert matchup, but they're in such a tough spot. Wild Charge still not enough to KO. Swampert able to Mud Shot down, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Togekiss into yet another Exca. Same game plan as always, save switch into Swampert, bait out the Gyarados, but it looks like he did actually TM the Swampert over to Earthquake. Earthquake does offer better finishing power against something like Metagross, but man, without Sludge Wave, this Gyarados matchup is extremely painful. Swampert going to continue to fire off Hydro Cannon after Hydro Cannon at this Gyarados. Gyarados farms up quite a bit, and they're going to fire off a move. Gyarados fires off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail barely not enough to KO. Swampert gets one final Hydro Cannon for the road. Hydro Cannon gets the Gyarados low, but Gyarados does not have to commit a shield, so unfortunately not able to get that shield advantage that Sludge Wave was in previous games. In comes the Arcanine into the Excadrill. In the back, they have Haxorus, and this is looking really tough for Arcanine, as Arcanine does not have the greatest matchup against Haxorus. These counters are absolutely shredding through Arcanine. Arcanine commits the shield. It's the Dragon Claw. Haxorus has a second one, and this is unfortunately looking like it's going to be a GG. Arcanine double shields, firing off another Psychic Fangs. At this point, honestly, Exca can just win this game. Yeah, so there's going to be the no shield there. Exca able to farm down. In comes Togekiss, but Togekiss I don't believe is going to be able to get the charm down before Exca is able to reach the double rock slide. First one gets Togekiss low. Second one is going to be able to take out the Togekiss. Made it as close as he could, but unfortunately, that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Togekiss into Gyarados. As always, very nice to catch the Gyarados on the lead. This Gyarados is running Waterfall, and they're staying in, which honestly works out pretty nicely here. Gyarados is going to overfarm slightly and then fire off the Aqua Tail. This is going to do a solid chunk of damage. Togekiss tanks it, and is going to fire back with the Ancient Power. Ancient Power should be lethal from this range. Gyarados commits the shield, looking for the farm down. Gyarados able to get the farm down on very low HP. In comes Swampert to absorb the energy. Gyarados is going to fire off a Crunch. Crunch does not get the debuff, and Gyarados goes down. In comes Snorlax to meet the Swampert, and Swampert does have a small energy lead here. Swampert fires off the Hydro Cannon. That does not do a whole lot of damage, which is unfortunate. Swampert tanks the Body Slam. That's going to get them low. Looks like the Swampert is back on Sludge Wave, so I may have had the battle slightly out of order. Hydro Cannon able to land. In comes Arcanine. Arcanine with 2 shields, looking to try and Fire Fang down, hoping that there's a steal in the back. Body Slam gets the shield. In the back, it's Metagross, and Arcanine is about to go off. Builds up to the Wild Charge, baits with the Psychic Fangs, gets the shield from the Metagross. Metagross absolutely getting cooked by these Fire Fangs. Meteor Mash gets shielded. Arcanine gets the farm down, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Togekiss into the mirror. Probably going to want to stay in this lead to start to get some chip damage, but then can switch out a bit later on. So staying in this matchup, farming up quite a bit of energy here. Farming up, goes for the Ancient Power catch onto Swampert, but unfortunately Togekiss holds onto their energy. Togekiss is going to fire off an Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace, not the strongest move ever, and the opponent does have their own Swampert waiting for this one. So incredibly good to bait out the opponent's Swampert, so that way Arcanine is not going to have to face it in the end game. Hydro Cannon comes through from the opponent, is going to get the Swampert low, but Swampert able to hang on and reach a Hydro of its own. This Hydro Cannon gets the opponent low and should put it into farm down range for Togekiss. In comes Togekiss, gets the charm through, going to commit the shield because you absolutely have to get rid of the opponent's Swampert. Opponent does have a shield advantage though, which is always scary. Opponent brings in their own Togekiss, going to be firing off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power will easily KO. Opponent commits the shield. In comes Arcanine in the back. They have Excadrill. Arcanine firing off the Psychic Fangs. This would be massive if they shield, and they do commit the shield. Opponent not familiar with Arcanine counts, and that is going to cost them. Drill Run gets the shield. Arcanine farms down. Bring back in that Togekiss, and that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, picking up an incredible lead, Togekiss into Haxorus. Immediate save switch into Excadrill, and Exa is going to be met with Swampert. There's quite a bit of lag, but even so, this is a dominatingly good matchup for Swampert. Swampert can tank one Drill Run, whereas Exa is not going to be able to reliably tank a Hydro Cannon. Swampert fires off the Hydro. Exa, committing shields, going to try and make a play for switch here. Firing off a second Hydro Cannon. Opponent double shielding, really trying to take switch, but at this point you can just double shield in return as the Swampert and be in a really safe position. They're going to fire off another Drill Run. Swampert is going to commit the shield. Swampert can overfarm a bit here. Opponent goes for the snipe with Haxorus, able to bank the move for later and bring back in Togekiss. Togekiss is going to be able to fully charm down the Haxorus. Haxorus goes for a Night Slash, and they get taken out. Do we see the opponent bring back in the Exa, or do we see their third? We see their third, and it's their own Togekiss. Ancient Power is going to be fired off right away. That's going to do a solid chunk of damage, getting the opponent quite low. It's the battle of the Togekiss here. Going for the charm down. It's a simultaneous KO. In comes the Shadow Arcanine. Arcanine farms down, and that is a good game. All in all, some incredibly fun battles with a Shadow Perfect IV Arcanine in the Master League Premier Cup. Arcanine is definitely more spice than utility, but seeing this trainer being able to put it to good use and get some wins with it was incredibly fun to watch. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.